the Minnesota Vikings, piloted by Kirk Cousins.
Really?
366 completions out of 529 attempts, a little under 4,700 yards, 34 touchdowns, 13 picks. Now, you did actually have his touchdown numbers come up a little bit, but you dropped him on your overall list a tiny bit. You got him as your quarterback 17 on projections, all the way down at 21 on the big board. So it's not like this is a guy you're really excited about.
And I think this is another, whether you're catching our projection series for the first time, or this is you're here with us every single day, this is a reminder that he's up towards the top of my list in passing yards and touchdowns, and still only 17 in projections, which goes to show you like how nuts and how valuable that is to have that good old the good old Russian Konami code upside there. So ultimately, that I do not expect a massive fantasy season from him, even if I expect some nice, steady, high floor. Like, he's a good guy to balance out if you're waiting on a Justin Fields, if you're waiting on a Trey Lance. Okay, he fits that. I prefer Ryan Fitzpatrick, but still, he fits that kind of bill of that type of guy. But yeah, just nothing exciting, and it's just a good reminder of how valuable those rushing stats are.
All right, let's talk about a guy who's super valuable by any metric, which is Dalvin Cook.
Whew.
All right, Dalvin Cook, he's actually come up a little bit recently, although there wasn't much further for him to come up on your list. You got him as your running back 2 on the projection list. I think you have him at 3 on the big board. You got him getting a massive 326 carries, over 1,600 yards on the ground, 14 touchdowns, adding over 50 catches, 400 yards, and 2 touchdowns receiving. Now, you have him getting a massive workload and putting up pretty big numbers, both rushing and receiving. You've also got Alexander Madison getting over 100 carries and getting a decent clip on that. You see this as just regular in-game production. You're not hedging for an injury here, right?
No, right, exactly. That's just regular in-game production because of how massive this ground pie is. They're built on the backbone of that Gary Kubiak zone scheme. I expect them to be one of the heaviest run teams they were last year. I think they're going to do so again. I think when you mention injury, you have to mention that with Dalvin Cook, who's missed time in every single professional season. That's the worry here. That's why I have him at 3 instead of 2. If he plays all 16 games, he could threaten Christian McCaffrey for the top spot, given how just dynamite he is in this zone blocking scheme and just as a player in general. He led the league in goal line attempts last year. I think that is very well within his reach again this season, hence the 14 TDs. He's great as a receiver, hence why in PPR leagues you might want to consider him over the King Henry. Half PPR, you might even want to as well if you think this guy can sustain all 17 games. I do get worried about that injury history. I've been, had my heart broken by Dalvin Cook before, so I do carry a little trepidation with that. But still, there is any qualms with what this guy can do on the field, any qualms with his workload. He is just a monster. It's just a matter of health.
All right. Let's get into another guy who's very high on the list, and that's Justin Jefferson, who I mentioned earlier. I made a comp to A-Rob, and you've got him as your wide receiver 4 projection. You had A-Rob at 9. You have him as your 6th guy on the big board. You have A-Rob, I think, at 13, or maybe it's backwards. It might be 13 and 9 the other way. But either way, you got him ranked quite a bit higher on both of those. Now, if you look at stats, you got Jefferson getting the same number of catches on the same number of targets. The only difference is you got him pulling in a couple more touchdowns and getting like 250 more yards.
I think
that's it. I mean, he's getting the same number of targets, the same number of catches. So I don't know. I know these are projections. These are not written in stone or anything like that, but I feel like that makes my point a little bit. Now, also, so you're going to talk about Jefferson in a second. Adam Thielen, you've got him as your wide receiver 23 on both lists, also getting 140 targets, by the way. Pulling in 86 to 90 balls, 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns. I don't know, man. Thielen's always just there sucking up fantasy points, isn't he?
He really is. He's become just one of those, like, I want to write a series, and maybe JT's writing it this year, called Unsexy Upside. Like,
he's so unsexy. Nobody's
looking like, I can't wait to get Thielen, right? But he falls to round 5 often. You can get him as your 3 or even 2 if you've gone horse, or Kelsey. And he's going to be steady. Like, he is going to – last year they were right around these target projections. I had 28% share, 24% share. Those were a little bit closer. This is saying I think Jefferson takes another step and sees a little more work than Thielen. They were more neck and neck last year. But even still, 130 targets for a good, talented receiver that Yeah, he's towards the back nine of his career, but still getting it done, especially as a red zone threat. He is dangerous out there. So I love Thielen's value, late fourth, early fifth. I love where he's going, but I also love Jefferson, late second, as you said. My projections have him coming out as the wide receiver 4, and I don't have him quite that high because he is only a sophomore. He's a little dinged up in camp. There's definitely question marks. Will he do it again? I think so, though. He's the type of guy, hard-ass worker, like just been on the grind all year trying to become one of the best. He's laughing at the people that think he's going to regress and like talks about how he pins it all up. One of those types of guys, the real grinders that just is fed by the doubt. And I like that. I think he's going to come right back out there. 1480 is right around what he did last year. I'm just projecting a little bit more touchdowns there as he refines his deep game. Both of those guys at their prices, late second, early third for Justin Jefferson and late fourth, early fifth for Thielen, are complete steals because if you look at there, after them, I mean, Chad Beebe, wide receiver 3, 7% target share. Like, there's nothing. The tight end is dangerous, and we'll talk about him in a second. But yeah, I'm all in on Jefferson and Thielen at their prices this year.
And like you mentioned, at tight end, Irv Smith Jr., he's gotten a little bump from you lately. You got him as your tight end 12 on your projections and your tight end 11 on the big board. 55 catches, 682, 8 touchdowns is the last numbers I have for him. Kyle Rudolph now out of town. I wouldn't be too unhappy if I waited on a tight end and I got him.
I'm with you 100%. Like I said yesterday, Logan Thomas is kind of my cutoff. I want Logan Thomas. If I go any lower, I'm starting to get sick. Smith is one that I could get a little bit excited about owning. He is an athletic freak, a big body, lineage, the genetics with him. He got all that going for him. And every single day, there's a new report, another 2-touchdown day for Irv Smith in the red zone. He is just dynamite in that area. We already seen that on the NFL field, but him and Rudolph were constantly nibbling each other's cheese. Well, now Rudolph's gone. And so there's no more cheese nibbling for Smith. 76 targets is pretty low. And that's just because I think Thielen and Jefferson just dominate this workload like they did last year. But I think this guy could be so efficient as a scorer that 76 targets is all he's really going to need to be a top 12 fantasy tight end. I'll get him all day. If I miss on Smith, like if I miss on Thomas rather, Smith is kind of that next guy. Like I better get him or else I'm really feeling sick about my tight ends. So yeah, I love Smith. And even if I have a number 1 tight end already, like if I have Logan Thomas, I don't mind taking Smith in that 12th round range where he's going right now because I think the touchdown equity, the touchdown upside is so high at that price tag.
All right. That's the NFC North, guys.
Oh, yeah. Look at us. Look at us. 3 divisions down that. We're almost halfway done already.
I know. I wish, how there's pictures of the presidents and they start their term and then there's pictures of them at the end of like, say they do 2 terms and they look like they're like 30 years older. I feel like by the end of this series, I'm going to be, looking like I'm like 5-6 years older.
I took the projections off and saw my face. My hair's drooping, like my sweat's all over. I'm going.
What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.